This is my Uncle Paul. He's a retired physics professor living in California. And in 1955, he and 5 friends did an amazing thing. They sailed 4,500 miles across the Pacific from Taiwan to San Francisco in this Chinese junk. Now, Uncle Paul is my mom's brother, but they didn't know each other growing up because Uncle Paul is 16 years older than my mom, and in fact, they're half-siblings. They share the same father. Their father, my grandfather, was attracted to accomplished women, which both my grandmother and Uncle Paul's mother was. But however, my grandfather was also a bigamist, which neither wife was particularly happy with. And lucky for him, though, World War II came along and the chaos of the rise of communism in China. And as a result, he was able to ditch both families to fend for themselves while he went off and eventually joined the Long March. And in the meantime, then Uncle Paul dropped out of school and he enlisted with the Allies to fight against the Japanese in Burma. It's a picture of him. And after the war, he made his way to Taiwan, where he worked as a fisherman. But that's not what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. So one day in 1954, he was reading the New York Herald Tribune, and he saw this very brief article that was mentioned the New York Yacht Club announces a transatlantic yacht race that will start from Newport, Rhode Island on June the 11th, 1955, and finish in Gothenburg, Sweden. Now, Uncle Paul had noticed the hardiness of Chinese junks, and putting the two ideas together, he wrote to the organizers and was granted a place in the race. Now, he just had to assemble a crew and find a boat. Assembling a crew was a lot easier, but with the help of the Formosa authorities, he was able to secure a vessel and put together a crew. And here they are. Fellow fishermen, Reno, Uncle Paul, Hulu, Benny, and Marco. And here's Calvin, who wasn't a fisherman. He was the American vice consul to Taiwan, who learned about the trip when the others came in to apply for their U.S. visas and asked to join. Now, this was what was supposed to happen. Sailing from Formosa up to the 43rd parallel, they would sail across the Pacific, down the U.S. West Coast, through the Panama Canal and up to Newport. Or when they got to San Francisco, they would freight the boat over to make the start of the race on the 11th of June. That's not what happened. To start with, actually, none of the guys had ever sailed before. They were all fishermen. They had never been further out than 200 miles. So they left Taiwan, but then had to go back because of problems with the ship. They left 2 weeks later, and then they encountered a typhoon and a storm, and then their tiller on the ship broke, so they got stranded in Yokohama for over a month. They missed the start of the race. And then eventually they did get to San Francisco, but not until the 8th of August. So now there are just a couple of pictures of life on the ship. Calvin took some amazing film footage and photographs during the trip. I think this is Hulu. He's tending to the sails. And here he is again in the next picture. He was the ship's chicken wrangler. So in addition to eating a lot of rice, they also grew vegetables on the deck. And they kept chickens for a steady supply of eggs, but I'm not sure the chickens made it to the end of the trip. But they did, the rest of them did, and here they are arriving in San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. They arrived to great fanfare, they got a Coast Guard escort, and in fact there's this old newsreel footage of their arrival, which is playing next.
Every day, but here it is. A Chinese junk sails under the Golden Gate Bridge, completing a 4-month journey from Japan. The crew of 6 receives a rousing welcome as they finish the 4,500-mile voyage in their 30-ton craft. The hardy mariners consist of 5 free Chinese refugees from the Reds and Calvin Merritt, American vice consul in Formosa. Theirs is the first craft of its kind to enter San Francisco harbor in 17 years.
Okay. So what happened to the crew? Well, Calvin returned to Taiwan to resume his diplomatic career, and he and his wife live in California. Reno and his family settled in Palo Alto, and he worked in Silicon Valley. He passed away in 2008. Benny sadly was killed at the age of 40 in a car accident when he was studying in Seattle for his PhD. Uncle Paul retired in 1994 from Cal State Northridge. He and my aunt live in California. Hulu and his family live in Christchurch, New Zealand, and in his retirement he teaches Tai Chi. And Marco and his family settled in Southern California as well. I'm not the only one who finds this a really great story. New Zealand filmmaker Robin Greenberg learned about this tale from Hulu, who teaches her Tai Chi. And last year she released the documentary The Free China Junk. And what happened to the Free China junk? Well, it's been in dry dock since its arrival in San Francisco, and it was almost scrapped in 2008. But the latest news is that the Taiwan government plans to restore it and put it on permanent display as soon as Taiwan and America can agree on how much it costs to ship it back. Okay, thank you.